Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Gaming News, where we cover everything that we can in the gaming industry. And we've got a number of things to cover today, so buckle up. We're just gonna jump right in to the topics. The first thing I would like to cover is information about NVIDIA. Now, you may not know what happened, but last week there was a giant leak about the database included in GeForce Now of titles that would be supported with the software. And in that list were a number of games that have not even been announced or anything like that, and this lit Twitter on fire as people were speculating whether or not these were legitimate games that were being worked on, or if they were just leaks and placeholders for the NVIDIA GeForce Now software. So let's take a look at the article. And here we are. NVIDIA responds to GeForce Now database leak, says list included speculative titles. So obviously, there were a lot of games that were listed that were possible, and following the leak, they reached out to NVIDIA and received the following comment from a spokesperson, which is, NVIDIA is aware of an unauthorized published game list with both released and or speculative titles used only for internal tracking and testing. Inclusion on the list is neither confirmation nor an announcement of any game. NVIDIA took immediate action to remove access to the list. No confidential game builds or personal information were exposed. As suspected on the list, some of these games might not see the light of day, but we do hope that some of these games would actually release. Now, as far as I understand, Alan Wake Remastered is actually happening, and I believe that has been publicized already. There's a number of different games, a Batman City Builder, which I'm actually kind of curious about. Like, is this going to potentially be a Lego Batman City Builder? Because that'd be kind of cool. The Death Stranding Director's Cut. We do know that this is a thing. I believe during E3, we'll have to see what happens with that game, because of course we know Hideo Kojima is a fantastic game developer. God of War, of course, Gran Turismo 7, again, that is coming to PlayStation, and I'm incredibly excited. I have seen some of the trailers. In fact, last week was the PlayStation Showcase, where they did actually show some footage for Gran Turismo 7, and I am all about the Gran Turismo. Give it to me now. Horizon Forbidden West, of course, we do know that is coming to PlayStation, and if the GeForce Now supports it, then potentially there will be a PC port of the game, question mark. That would be amazing, because I do not have consoles to play on. Just saying. Myst Remaster, of course, we do know that that is happening. You can pre-order it on Steam, and it looks gorgeous. I've watched some of the dev streams, and I do get emails from the newsletter about updates for something that I backed. And then we get to some really cool, interesting things like Talos Principle 2. Absolutely spectacular game. If you have not played the Talos Principle and you like puzzles, please play that. It is fucking phenomenal. If you like the Talos Principle, the idea that there might be a Talos Principle 2 is extremely exciting to me. I have a theory that this is actually happening because I did do some digging. There does appear to be splatterings of this might actually become a reality. So I am 100% for another Talos Principle. Please give it to me. Give it to me now. Worms Next is actually really exciting to me because it's Worms, and Worms is just a great time. And potentially an XCOM 3. Now, again, none of these are verified per se. These were, of course, just for internal purposes, for testing, and we may not actually see some of these games come to PC, but I am kind of excited for some of them because a couple of them were announced, but the fact that they would be included in this software means that we're going to have better graphics integrity with some of these titles. So I am excited nonetheless. Like, I don't see this as necessarily a bad thing. I don't know about many of these titles if they are just rumors or if they will come to fruition, so keep that in mind, but I thought I would bring it to your attention. Next up, we have information about actually a lawsuit that happened within the last while. So what happened was Bungie had hired a composer, Marty O'Donnell, to do a lot of the composition for some of the Bungie games, mostly related to Destiny. But he also did work on a lot of the things with Halo in terms of music. And Eurogamer published a article about this on the 16th. And that is, the composer has been found in contempt of court over his use of Destiny assets and now owes Bungie tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees. In April of this year, Bungie served the celebrated composer behind the original Halo music with contempt of court papers over video related to Destiny that were uploaded to O'Donnell's YouTube channel and other platforms. Some of these videos were early musical sketches of what became Music of the Spheres, the much-loved musical foundation for 2014's Destiny. The contempt of court claim relates to the terms of a prior lawsuit between Bungie and O'Donnell over his acrimonious exit from the company, a lawsuit that O'Donnell eventually won. So clearly he was in legal battles with Bungie prior and did actually win that particular lawsuit, and I do not know for what reason he left the company or was forcibly removed from the company. I'm not going to speak to that, but essentially there have been issues between Bungie and Mr. O'Donnell about some of the things that he has done, and he is a celebrated composer, so the fact that what he has done is re-uploaded things that now technically belong to Bungie, so of course Bungie took him to court. And what ended up happening was Bungie said all material includes not just the music of the spheres in their final state, but all versions, components, and variations of the track. That is all material involved in any way in the creation of Music of the Spheres and Destiny. And so then you move forward to 2019, where he began uploading the videos and other materials related to the Music of the Spheres onto his YouTube channel as well as Bandcamp, and that shows that he still possessed all of that material and did not get rid of it as he was told to, probably under contract, that he is no longer able to use any of that content. And of course, Bungie in this case went and spoke to the judge, and the judge agreed that Mr. O'Donnell was in violation of the court ruling and therefore now has to pay money to compensate for damages and whatnot. And of course, they're not able to comment on the ongoing litigation of the ruling, but the fact that this is the reality, that if you are working for a company, or even if you're contracted and you work for a company, any of the assets or things that are part of that you cannot use just because you feel like it, even if it's years down the road. And while Mr. O'Donnell may be proud of the compositions that he has crafted for the games, does not give him the right to upload it, especially if it was legally mandated that he was to get rid of any of the content after he left the company. So again, we're talking about, you do not want to mess with law, and copyright can be a very complicated situation, and it's very important to take a look at what things are allowed to have sort of creative process versus what things that you cannot. And again, because this was clearly part of the contract, you just should not violate those terms. That is the sum total of what this is. And of course, he is going to quite literally pay for his mistakes. So, Mr. O'Donnell is ordered to post a message, the wording of which the parties agree to, on his Twitter, YouTube, Bandcamp, and SoundCloud sites channels, stating that he did not have legal authority to possess or provide material related to Music of the Spheres or Destiny, and asking anyone who previously downloaded any such assets to delete them and refrain from sharing them, and he will have to destroy any copies of them, as well as anybody who has now got those versions also have to destroy them. Otherwise, Bungie might come after you because they are legally allowed. Mr. O'Donnell will refrain from making any direct or indirect public comment regarding these posts, including responses to those inquiring regarding basis for such posts, and will let the message speak for itself, the court ordered. So, it's a court order. He cannot not do what they have said. If he does violate the court order, then the court itself can go after him for what he has done to violate. He may end up having to pay the state because he did not follow a court-mandated order, on top of the fact that, you know, obviously he violated a contract that was issued and signed by both Bungie and Mr. O'Donnell at the time of hire, but then also probably an exit contract stating that these are the things you need to do, because a lot of the material still under NDA or still owned by Bungie themselves. So let that be a warning that just because you create something does not mean that it's a good idea to violate the law or to go against that company, because you may end up paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and basically get potentially blackballed from the industry. Next up, we're going to talk about more things having to do related to copyright. I assume that it is related to copyright because the news about Discord today is not Discord specific, it's bots that were created for use in Discord, which is that the music bots that a lot of us know and love are basically being killed by Google, because what these programs or what these bots are designed to do is to load up and queue up YouTube songs and play those songs in Discord. Now, the thing is, because of the way that the bots are designed, they circumvent any ads or sponsors or anything like that that are put onto YouTube videos, or that are pre-rolled on YouTube videos. So because these bots just play the music straight without having any of the ads, that means they're not receiving the ad revenue that they would normally be receiving. And of course, it has to do with the fact that Google is not making as much money because they're not able to fulfill the contracts that they've made with the advertising agencies. So essentially, we're already looking at Groovy within the last couple of weeks was killed off because of this, and now the Rhythm bot is also going to be killed this month. So nearly 3 weeks after Google killed the Discord music bot Groovy, another one is set to bite the dust later this month. Rhythm is set to shut down on the 15th, so that date has already passed, and it's Discord's most popular Rhythm bots, being installed on around 20 million Discord servers and around 30 million active monthly users. It worked the same as Groovy, with users able to feed the bot YouTube links, which could be played to everybody in a voice channel. Now, just like Groovy, Rhythm's developer has been sent a cease and desist by Google. One way or another, we knew this was going to happen eventually, which is why we started working on something new a year ago. Groovy receiving one just meant it would happen sooner rather than later. After 5 years of service, Rhythm has had to shut down, and of course all of the users of the Rhythm bot are going to be upset that they cannot play their music through Discord, because obviously there are no ads or anything about it. So Rhythm's new project was briefly touched upon in a post on its official website announcing its imminent closure, writing, "We can't tell you too much yet, but we're working on something awesome in the music space. It sounds like an alternative maybe in the works, one that most likely won't rely on YouTube videos and circumventing Google ads." Now, here's the thing. I used to stream a lot of audio surf too, and one of the things with the game, with the program, with audio surf, was that at one time you could do song request and then a YouTube link, and you would be able to play the YouTube songs and play your music, right? And what ended up happening was YouTube was like, okay, you can integrate this into your game, but it means that you have to play the video directly in the game. And eventually the creator of AudioSurf 2 was forced to take out the YouTube integration. And I assume that this is for the same reason. And when we look at the amount of DMCA claims that have been happening and what has generally been happening with the rights holders of music and the publishers and, just general companies are looking at, we still want to make our profit, that a lot of these programs and things are being shut down and screwed over until there becomes a happy middle ground between the music industry and its publishers and content creation, and where there is a good line where everyone is served something that they are happy with. And it's incredibly difficult, but this also means that we've had different copyright-free playlists and things popping up, and the use of Pretzel Rocks and all of these different things. Chill Hop and Harris Heller releasing a lot of his music that is usable, and Miracle of Sound and OC Remix and all of these different things that I ended up not playing audio surf on stream anymore because of many of these copyright issues that have not yet been resolved. And the fact that they're going after all of these music Discord bots also doesn't surprise me. The fact that people are still trying to make money through these ads, and if your bots are designed to circumvent that, well, people are obviously going to get pissed off. So I am weirdly not surprised by this. I am sad that Rhythm and Groovy are gone, but I look forward to whatever the new programs are going to be, the new apps, the new bots, because I don't know what it is they're working on, but I'm really excited to see what happens with this in the future. Next up, we have Amazon Games. So I will speed right through this, but essentially, Amazon Games Montreal has hired Ubisoft Toronto's lead development person, who is Alexander Parizo, as its new studio head. He will be leading up the studio's debut title, a competitive multiplayer AAA game based on a new IP. So he had spent many years at Ubisoft Toronto as a senior producer, and then he eventually took over as managing director in 2014 after Jade Raymond left. And prior to that, he had worked at Ubisoft Montreal for multiple years as well. So the VP at Amazon Games said Alex has a long track record of building talented teams and successful games and is a perfect fit for what we aspire to create at our new studio in Montreal. He managed the development teams behind major franchises during his time at Ubisoft Montreal and Toronto, and he instantly clicked with our team's vision and creative leads, some of which he worked with previously at Ubisoft. Alex will continue assembling an outstanding team in Montreal, and we're looking forward to sharing more on what they're creating when the time is right. So, of course, this comes after the announcement that Amazon Games opened up a new studio in Montreal back in March, and this should be interesting just because he's obviously got a long-standing history in game development, and he's going to be working on a totally new IP. He did obviously work on Watch Dogs Legions before, so I'm very curious to see where this goes and what type of game, like competitive multiplayer game, that they create, because obviously more games are just more exciting to play and to see. So we'll have to see what he ends up doing with this new title, with this new IP. Of course, we don't know what that is yet, but from Ubisoft, they have created some really good games, and I'm excited to see what his experience will bring to the table for the studio, and especially for the new location that has only been up for a few months. So we'll have to just keep an eye out on what goes on with Ubisoft Montreal. Next up is mostly just a quick, informative article that I came across from Game Industry Biz, which is Twitch changes refund policy to avoid chargebacks. Now, people who are unaware, chargebacks are sometimes rather malicious, where someone donates to your stream and donate a lot of money, as a significant amount of money that they don't actually have, and then they would immediately initiate a refund, and that means that the person being donated would incur a chargeback. And sometimes what would happen is the chargeback would be an amount in relation to the amount of money that was donated in the first place. So you can see how this would be a problem. If you donate $1,000 or something, the chargeback on that $1,000 is going to be significantly higher than if one person is trying to get back a smaller amount, like say $10 or $15 or something. And so in this article, users will still have 24 hours to request a refund, but Twitch has implemented a new process looking at a user's history of refunds before agreeing to it. So if a person has requested refunds on multiple different channels, then Twitch is going to look at that and be like, you might actually you might actually be trying to harm the content creators themselves, and you don't actually intend to donate that money, and you're just trying to give them an extra cost that they do not need to incur. So people who are abusing the refund policy can actually be banned from the platform altogether, which I'm incredibly excited about because we don't need more malicious assholes on the platform as it is. So Twitch made a statement: submitting excessive refund requests or attempting to abuse our refund processes is against Twitch's policies and could result in limited access to products or service and or suspension or termination of your account. They've also been in the midst of controversy because of how they've been handling hate raids, and they've also now filed a lawsuit against the users behind some of these malicious hate raids. And it's important to note that the hate raids are not the same as the host bots that don't actually do anything from everything that we've seen so far. That doesn't mean they won't do something in the future, but it just means that those are not considered to be hate raids, and you need to know that that is a different section of issue than the hate raids that we're talking about here. So I have talked about that topic at length previously. Definitely go check out Patreon, and I do have other videos where I cover these things and I provide all of the source material for the topics that I cover on this show. So I have one final thing to cover, and incidentally, it's not what you think it is. We are going to talk about Ikea. Now, normally you would be like, what does this have to do with gaming? Well, I will show you because I actually found this kind of interesting. So Ikea has its own newsroom, and now Ikea is collaborating with Asus ROG to launch gaming furniture. So there are obviously a lot more gamers out there, and we are constantly looking for things to make our lives easier, to make sure that our bodies are feeling good and sitting in ergonomic chairs, ideally. Obviously, IKEA has noticed the vast increase in gamers who want specific types of furniture, and a lot of people do go to IKEA because it's inexpensive. You can move into a new house and not have anything, and for a relatively low enough price you can get a full complement of furniture through IKEA. And now, with the partnership of the Republic of Gamers, they're going to be able to create gear designed for gamers, so desks and chairs and things like that, to make things better. And as of right now, IKEA only has the Freddy desk, which is a longer desk. It's about 6 feet, maybe a little bit wider. It's got a hutch, it's got pegs to hang up your headset on, it's got both sides where you have cup holders. It also has both sides where you can put your computer underneath your desk on either the left or the right, so it's fully adaptable. If you're a left-handed gamer or a right-handed gamer, there is plenty of space. You can get a couple of different add-ons as well. It isn't a super expensive desk, but it is fantastic. And now IKEA is going to be launching other types of desks and chairs and things to elevate your gaming experience. So they've got a lineup of gaming themed, furniture and accessory that is going to be available in October. The lineup first was released in China earlier this year, and it's going to have a bunch of different things like cup holders, mice bungees, all the way up to gaming chairs, which I'm actually kind of interested to see what they do with the gaming chairs. And I'm also interested to see what they do for a standing desk, because standing desks are actually rather expensive, and it is much better for your body to change your posture and whatnot. It's much more healthy to be able to get up and move around. And a lot of gamers, if they have the money to invest in, and a lot of those desks are incredibly expensive because you're using automatic devices to elevate that desk while you are in the middle of a stream or something like that. So I'm very curious if this standing desk is only going to be $600. That is actually quite cheap in comparison to a lot of these standing desks that you can find out there right now. So the fact that companies are looking for other ways to provide useful products to gamers is fantastic in my opinion. I would just caution you, because you get what you pay for. So if you're paying for something inexpensive, don't expect it to last forever. And also, depending on what they use for materials, they have a tendency of using MDF and maybe even HDF if you're really lucky. But if you have a tendency of moving a lot, every time that you disassemble anything that is made of MDF or HDF, will start to deteriorate faster than you think it is. So just be mindful of that when you're looking at buying things from IKEA. But if they're partnering up with the Republic of Gamers, I'm hoping that there is going to be a certain level of quality that will be part of this gaming themed furniture. So keep this in mind if you are looking for alternatives to gaming gear. So with all of that said, I know it was a bit longer today because we had a lot to cover. Thank you so much for being here, being part of the Patreon. And remember, if you enjoy these videos, share the word out there that these are things that I am doing with Patreon. It's only $5 a month for you to have access to these videos. You don't necessarily have to be in the higher tiers. I provide these videos, both the gaming news videos and the writing videos, for all people who are signed up to my Patreon. So let people know I am out there. We are on Twitter, we are in Discord, we are on Twitch, we are on Instagram. We do these every single week. And if you have any topics you would like me to cover in future videos, please let me know and I will consider putting them as topics for this content for you. So with that, thank you so much for being here. You're amazing. And with that, I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.